The 2022 NFL season kicks off on Thursday, August 11th, with the New England Patriots hosting the New York Giants. And while some say they won't bet the preseason, many NFL handicapping experts say there's more value betting the preseason than any other sport. The NFL preseason is $249, but you can save $100 by purchasing this package by kickoff of the Hall of Fame game on August 11th. The entire NFL preseason for just $149? Yes, football is back. This offer expires when the Patriots and Giants kick off, and your access begins the moment you sign up, so you will get any early releases the moment they are loaded.
Welcome into the USFL Betting Show. It is championship week, final game of the first season. Kind of exciting times here for the USFL. They also announced they're having a second season, so we'll likely be back next year as well. You can put it on your calendars, guys, for kind of the minor leagues it's turning into in the NFL, at least for my opinion. We got Adam Trigger, Rob, Veno, Tony Mejia, WagerTalk.com. We're breaking down the game between the Philadelphia Stars and the Birmingham team. However, they are playing not in Birmingham anymore. Tom Benson HOF Stadium, Canton, Ohio, 45 being the total. We're seeing -4 in the hook. That's the Stallions, the Birmingham Stallions, I guess playing as the home team. However, guys, neutral field here. -4 is what it opened at. Robbie, we can start with you. We're seeing -205 the money line, 45 being the total. Rob, throw it over to you. What are you thinking? 7:30 primetime Sunday night, Stars and Stallions.
Yeah, there you go, Drew, right? 7:30 primetime Sunday night. Where else would you rather be? I mean, Carrie Underwood won't be singing the intro, but it'll be good football nonetheless. Last week was crazy, right? The amount of special teams returns we saw for touchdowns, and in fact, it's what got Philadelphia here, 87-yard punt return by Maurice Alexander with about 1:47 left wins the game. It was different. I think I heard on one of the broadcasts that there were only 2 special team returns all year long, 4 touchdowns, and they had 3 in the semifinals last week. So I don't know that we'll see that repeat performance here. I would say, I'm a little bit surprised that New Jersey isn't here, but credit to Philadelphia and the way they played through some significant second half injuries, right? They lost Case Cookus for a couple of series. They lost their running back Coleman, I think, for the entire second half in that particular game. So they were getting dinged up a little bit, but hung on. They win that game. If we take a look at the only meeting really in the regular season, Birmingham laid 7. Now they're only laying 4.5. I don't know if that's a 2.5 point increase toward, the gap of these teams closing that much, or if the 2.5 is in terms of home field, which was being given to Birmingham at that time. Not sure how the odds makers view this, but we do have a different number here for this championship game, and a total of 37 in the opener, in the regular season meeting, and now we're looking at 46, as high as 46. So the two numbers are vastly different than they were in week 5. Birmingham won that game 30-17. They covered that game, guys, much the way that they sent the game over last week. A 2-yard touchdown run by Jamar Smith with 47 seconds left to get a 30-17 win over the Stars, got them the cover at -7 in that game. Philly had a 17-14 lead. Got drilled in the second half, 16-0. Stallions had been a really good second half team for most of the season. Case Cookus, it was his second start. Didn't fare badly, 19 of 35, 215. But Birmingham had massive advantages in that game. Plus 124 total yards, plus 30 total plays, plus 16:06 time of possession. CJ Marable had a real big day. I think it was the first game for both Scarborough. He didn't do much. The only thing Philadelphia did really, really well, outside of having a good first half, was defensively. They had 4 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. And we saw last week that, again, they're a defense that'll give up yards, but they're an opportunistic, disruptive, big play style of defense. Did it to the Generals last week on multiple occasions. If we look from a totals perspective here real quick, guys, last week's semifinals, Birmingham, like I say, they get 2 return for touchdowns for themselves in that game. 14 of their 31 points are linked to a 71-yard interception return and a 90-yard kickoff return. So offensively, they only scored 17 against the Breakers last week. He also had a 23-yard touchdown pass. There were only 15 possessions total in that game. So to put up the amount of points that they did, 48, and send the game over, I know I had liked under in that game. That game gets over on only 15 possessions, which is a little bit of bad luck, I would guess. The Stars game, like I say, you had 2 punt return for touchdowns, one by the Generals, one by the Stars, and that accounted for 14 of the 33 total points. Leads me to somewhat believe that this 46, which is available in a couple of spots, I guess 45 and a half, 45, depending upon where you shop, I feel like the total is a little bit too high. Both defenses playing pretty well at this point in time. Last week in the Generals Stars game, there were 8 trips into the red zone. 5 resulted in 0 points, 4 turnovers, and I think a turnover on downs, or maybe 3 turnovers, a missed field goal, and a turnover on downs. But they were stopping people in the red zone like crazy. Philly forced 3 TDs. They've been good at it. I think overall view of this game right now as we sit on Thursday afternoon, I think I would like the underdog here, and I think I would look at the under.
Okay, underdog and under for Robbie. Tony, coming to you next. Like we said, primetime Stars and Stallions. What are you liking for the championship game, man?
Well, I'm hoping that I won't have the bad luck that I had last week, as those returns killed me in every single game, and then the J.M.R. Smith final second touchdown to kill my under, which was my favorite play last week in that game in New Orleans and Birmingham. So hoping for better luck here, but I will give out my play for free both on the show and on Sunday. If you look at my page at wt.buzz/TM, you'll find a write-up there. But, I mean, I think that the spread is what I felt it would be. Birmingham has been the clear favorite for most of the season, and then we saw Philadelphia pull off the upset of the team that I thought would end up winning it all once the playoffs started, in the New Jersey Generals. And, again, just making plays when they needed to be made. Both teams benefited from returns, and it was a situation where a pick 6 against New Orleans really changed that game, and we went into last week's preview of that contest saying Kyle Sloter really has to be more careful with the ball. He wasn't. That ultimately was the Achilles heel for New Orleans. And then, something to watch for in this game, Paul Terry was the breakout star for the Philadelphia Stars in the first meeting in this game, which they actually led at halftime and then got outscored 16-0. He's hasn't been a part of the equation of late. So we'll see where the playmakers come from Philadelphia. Certainly, Case Cook has been effective all year since taking over for Scott at quarterback. But, a little shaky last week against the better defense, did make plays on the ground and ultimately ended up with the win. But I'm thinking that Birmingham can rattle him here, and that's where my lean goes. I think the Stallions are the way to play this. Interesting that 44.5 is available on a total at Caesars. So if you want to go over, that's where you shop. If you want to go under, as Rob mentioned, there is a 46 out there over on a global market, a couple of them, and Westgate and some of the books on the Strip and DraftKings has it at 45. No real opinion there, but I mean, it should be a good showing. These have been 2 of the more consistently entertaining teams in the USFL in its inaugural season.
Sure. And I mean, Adam, coming to you last, I mean, with the Stars last year, kind of the surprise, what they were only, I believe, 6-4 in the regular season. They find themselves in the championship game. I guess, get your thoughts here. What are you liking Sunday night?
Well, Drew, for starters, what we know now is Larry Fedora does not follow WagerTalk, did not see my video that he needed to just slap Kyle Sloter and say, listen, you can't make that awful throw that's going to kill your team, because that's exactly what happened. And those 2 turnovers, specifically the pick 6, as Tony alluded to, crushed my New Orleans bet last week. I still think Birmingham, they did it again, where they just tack on the meaningless touchdown late. I mean, they've had to do this like 4 or 5 times already this season.
Yeah.
I think it totally inflates that. If you look at the scores, even going back to the Birmingham Philly, the first meeting, something similar happened in that game. The final was 30-17. that was a pretty close game, and that was actually early enough in the season where the Stars were like not running the ball at all. They were pretty much a pass only offense. So, the Stars have come a ways since then, kind of figured out how to get a little bit out of their run game. And I'm kicking myself. Last week I said, if this line creeps up, gets to like 6, I'm probably going to bet the Stars. Of course, I don't bet it. They come out and win the game outright. That's kind of how I feel about this game. This is exactly what I would have made the line 4.5. Feels to me like it could be one of those games where the spread is decided late again. It could be Birmingham with a 3-point lead, and maybe they, tack on a field goal late or get the late touchdown. But also, what we talked about last week, this Philadelphia team, they don't really give up. So if they're sitting there with the ball down 12 or 11 and you're getting 4.5 points, like, you're definitely still in it with this Stars team. And something I also like about the Stars, to me, they've been kind of the most they've been the most cohesive unit in the respect that they've been able to overcome some adversity, right? Like Scott goes down, Cookus takes over. We were talking about them overcoming a couple injuries last week. And they've got the offensive talent where I could see them just like pulling out all the stops here. Kind of similar to the way they started the game last week against New Jersey and surprising Birmingham a little bit in this game. So I agree with Rob. I think the Stars are definitely a live underdog. I haven't bet this yet. The number as it stands on Thursday afternoon is exactly what I would have made it in this game. But similar to last week, I would not be shocked at all, Drew, if the masses started betting Birmingham and this line moved a little bit as we got closer to game time. So again, I may jump in at 4.5. Like I said, I haven't decided. The only way I will bet this game is the Stars. There's no chance I'll end up on Birmingham at any number. But, I could probably get talked into the Stars if I'm getting like 5.5, if it does move. And I might even jump in at 4. I really think that there's not a 4.5 point gap between these two teams on a neutral field. I think Philly has improved more than Birmingham has since the first meeting, which had a deceiving final score, in my opinion. That game was closer than that final score indicates. So if I'm getting involved in the USFL Championship game on Sunday night, it would only be to take the points of Philadelphia.
I agree with you on the improvement there, Trey. Good point. I mean, I think it's going to be a good game, guys. Birmingham, the one team that had like home field advantage playing in Birmingham, I guess they didn't have it last week. I wonder if that comes into effect. It did look like pretty good atmosphere for both of the semifinal games. I would guess it's going to be the case here for the championship game. But just kind of going around the horn one last time here, guys. This is the last show for the USFL season. Thought it was successful. Not only from the betting show here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. By the way, guys, if you're liking the content, please smash that like button. It does help us out. And please leave us a line below in the reply section. Let us know who you're betting. That is welcome. Let us know what you want to hear about maybe next season, what improvements we should make. It's all welcome here. And make sure to check out Adam Trigger, Rob Veno, and Tony Mejia, WagerTalk.com, as myself, Drew Martin. I guess, Tony, coming to you first, man, kind of like open mic night here before we shut it down for the show, for the season here. Any final thoughts on the game Sunday? Also, your overall thoughts on the USFL, man. You think this is going to work? I know we touched on it last week, but like one thing I guess I could start it off here. I remember talking to my grandpa about the Super Bowl, like Super Bowl ` and I'm like, what was that like? Like, was it a big deal? Is it like it is now? He's like, no, but I did watch it, and to see it grow, it was like always fun to watch. Tony, interested, what do you think this turns into? I mean, they're coming back to season 2. Do you think this lasts and this goes on and this turns into almost like a minor league of the NFL and becomes, the off season, something people watch and bet going forward? And just your overall thoughts for the show, man. Anything on this game Sunday night?
I mean, definitely gets a passing grade. I'll go as high as C+. And I mean, it's the most successful spring league that we've seen in a long time, considering most disband by the time we get through week 5. So it's got that going for it. It at least reached the championship. It's announced that it's coming back for year 2. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but certainly they aspire to return to Birmingham as one of the hubs. and we'll add maybe one or two more. So I'm curious to see what venues they choose for that. No expansion, so we'll get these same 8 teams, and then it's really contingent on what the XFL does leading in. I know the leagues will go head to head late in the XFL season and early in the USFL season next year. Will it be football overkill? Will people say, hey, I'm ecstatic that I have football to bet because I don't like basketball and I don't like hockey? And a lot of people aren't like that, but certainly you do have your gridiron focused bettors. So a lot to really unfold there that we don't know, because we don't know how popular the XFL is going to be. But it could be a great lead-in, or it could be something that the USFL becomes overkill and is hampered by that. As far as this game goes, I think Birmingham will eventually have too many weapons for this Stars team on both sides of the ball. I think to me, I thought Philadelphia should have lost last week. Cookus was shaky and then shaken up. They had to come in with KJ Costello. At this point, we've got a Birmingham team that Jamar Smith has been a constant all season long. He's obviously had familiarity with Skip Holtz and how to win games from their time together at Louisiana Tech. And then you've got Scarborough and Maribel toting the rock, have been consistent all down the stretch as running backs. Marlon Williams out of UCF has been one of their top receivers. They've got others in Hardy and Mitchell that have consistently stepped up. So I'll just stay with Birmingham and hope they can cover the number at 4.5. That's definitely my best bet and the only direction I'm looking in this game.
He's Tony Mejia. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. 4-0 run on the diamond. He's hot right now, guys. Check him out. Not only knowing his secondary football leagues here, but he knows MLB as well. If you like volume, he's your guy. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. Tony Mejia. Rob Veno as well. Robbie, I know you're getting excited for college football. You know your USFL. We'll have every game on the board, right? And guys, check out Robbie, WagerTalk.com. He's got MLB going well, and he had a successful NBA season. Robbie, throw it over to you, man. Open mic style. Any closing thoughts here?
Yeah, I think next year will be interesting, Drew. I mean, the XFL is already trying out players for next year. It's going to be a battle for talent between these two. I think if you look at the time gap between the two, one opens on February 18th. Remember last week when we looked it up, the length of season was still unknown, according to the website. But they're already getting eligible talent. And if they start on February 18th, and this particular USFL league started on April 16th this season, it's about a 2-month gap. I'm just wondering how many of those players will convert over and play both leagues in order to showcase their talent to the NFL. That's what both of these leagues are really all about. So we'll see. But I like what we saw out of the league this year. Obviously, again, it's not elite level football, but it was very, very competitive football with a lot of guys worthy of a shot at an NFL training camp. Pretty good coaching on all sides. The XFL also, if you check out their list of head coaches, I mean, Bob Stoops, Wade Phillips, I think Jim Haslett, a lot of NFL names there for that league. So they'll probably have some good coaching as well. The game here, to Philadelphia's resiliency, guys, Tony mentioned Paul Terry was the running back, and he was their number one running back to start the season. He gets hurt. It goes to Matt Colburn. He turns out to be better than Paul Terry was. Matt Colburn goes on the IL after suffering a leg injury last week. And in comes Darnell Holland to finish off the game in really good fashion. So they're just, the phrase is way overused, next man up. But for the Philadelphia offense, it's been next man up. I mean, when Scott went down at quarterback, you thought, oh my God, their season's really done. But Case Cookus, he's an intelligent quarterback. And he's a guy that the team follows. He commands the huddle. They love him. I think Philadelphia offensively can move the football enough here against Birmingham. To me, Birmingham talked about it last week. They were stumbling in to the playoffs offensively. And, when 14 of your points last week come off of an interception return and a punt return, you're still somewhat stumbling. Right, so I don't know that their offense has got any dominant advantage over Philadelphia's. I think Philadelphia showed last week that the run defense has improved enough. They outrushed the Generals last week. Generals were the best rushing football team in the USFL this year, and their defensive secondary was flying all over the place. So, Jamar Smith to Victor Bolden. I don't know that I trusted enough to lay points here, Drew. And I think Philadelphia's got enough guts and enough in the reserve tank, and they played really, really well down the stretch. I mean, this is a team the first 5 weeks we're extremely critical of, at least I was, because they couldn't play run defense whatsoever. They were just horrid. And they've straightened a lot of things out. So to me, 4.5, anything over a field goal worth taking here. I think I would probably lean Philadelphia's way. And again, the under just looks like the right side here. One big note for the Birmingham side is in the first game when they played in week 5, you could argue Scooby Wright is their best defensive player, former linebacker from Arizona. And he didn't play in that game against Philadelphia. He's available now, and he's been running all over the field the last couple of weeks. So looks to me like maybe you get a little more defense out of this one. If you don't get the returns for touchdowns, the point scoring will be down. We saw the possessions were limited last week in both games. I think, again, I'd probably look underdog and under here.
Yeah, underdog and under from Robbie. And I agree with you, Robbie. We've seen it in college football. Heck, even the NFL at times, more so in college, when it comes to like really important games, it's just kind of tighten up, play not to lose, watch that clock run, play defense. And I think we might see that here on Sunday night. So I agree with you. I wouldn't rush to bet the over. Guys, in terms of closing thoughts for myself, I feel like maybe the USFL could maybe improve in the stadium, not so much against Birmingham. Birmingham's a great football town, but like, I think that 70,000 seat stadium, if they made it smaller somehow, like it might not take away from the atmosphere as much. Like if they had like a little, maybe 20,000 seat stadium, like a high school stadium on steroids, something like that, like a Conference USA stadium. Actually, I think this is, or used to be, a Conference USA stadium, interestingly enough, but like a smaller stadium would do well for him going forward. But I thought that was good points in terms of going up against the XFL. Now there might be competition. Is it too much? I didn't really think about that. So good points there, guys. But overall, I think it was a success. I think it's going to be here for many years to come and turn into something that is positive for the NFL. I think they can both work together. But anyway, Trig, I'll throw it over to you, man. Guys, check out Adam Trigger. WagerTalk.com having a successful 2022 baseball season. I'm seeing KBO, Korean Adam by some. He's up almost 40% ROI and a big 5% winner. I guess last night, this morning, whatever it is on the other side of the world with the Lotte Giants plus 100 winner. Shout out to you, Trig. And guys, if you like these niche sports, a lot of times, look, the NFL is great, NBA, those kind of sports, but you can get more of an advantage with these niche sports, and Trig's got it going on there in the KBO. So check him out, Adam Trigger, WagerTalk.com. Trig, I'll throw it over to you. Kind of same thing, open mic night and closing thoughts for the show.
I mean, I'm excited to see that it's coming back. I can't wait till teams are actually in their home markets. I think that's what'll ultimately determine the growth of the league and whatnot. If once teams get in and playing in their own cities, getting their own fan bases, so on and so forth. But listen, Drew, it's football that's on major networks in the middle of summer, and the broadcasts were good. Like I sat and watched every minute of last Saturday. I sat and watched football all day. It kind of felt like a football Saturday. You know what I mean? Like there was 2 good games on. They were both great. I mean, they were both great games. The first one was awesome with the punt return. And even New Orleans and Birmingham was competitive throughout. So, 2 really good games. The broadcast quality was good. It's nice to see, not that I know the execs didn't really care about this year, but it's nice to see fans in the stands. It just makes it, I don't know, you saw it in the Birmingham games, you saw it in the playoffs last week. Like there was at least enough people there to give it like a good feel. And I agree with you, Drew. Small stadiums are going to be the way to go for this league when they start playing in their home stadiums. Make it look, fill it up as much as you can and give it a little bit of an atmosphere. And I think people will start to really kind of follow this league. And the more people betting this league, the better it's going to be, for us that, might be out ahead of the average person a little bit. So that's what I'm looking forward to next year. And I hope the XFL does, but hopefully next year when we're doing the show, we're calling it like the minor league football show or something, and we're doing XFL and USFL, and both are doing well, and there's betting opportunities in both of them. That would be great. But as far as this game is concerned, we've already broke it down quite extensively. It's either Stars plus the points or nothing here for me. I think the Stars have improved since these two teams met earlier in the season. Like Rob said, they've definitely improved defensively since that meeting, and they're running the ball, which they really didn't do for the first few weeks. I mean, there was a point in time where the Stars lost a game, or maybe they won a game, but they attempted like 7 rushes in the entire game, and that was like one of the big changes this Stars team made about halfway through the season. Was they started to run the ball, and their offenses looked a lot better because of it. Now that we're in, they've been doing that for 5 weeks, and we're in the finals. So I think Philadelphia is a live dog here. I think they absolutely have a chance to win this game. And Birmingham, they found a way to tack on points late and put teams away late. But this Stars team has found a way to score that sort of, I don't call it meaningless, because it seems like you're never out of it until the game's over in this league. But score that late touchdown to get within the number. So Stars plus 4.5. And I may actually give this as a best bet to clients if this creeps up a little more. But I think the Stars are going to hang around. Similar to last week, I think they're going to come to play, and I think they probably get within the number and maybe even win this game.
Good stuff from Adam Trigger, Rob Veno, TonyMejia.com. Check them all out, WagerTalk.com. I am Drew Martin. Guys, again, please smash that like button. Let us know below who you're betting. Any thoughts on the USFL, all welcome. So that does it for the first season of the USFL Betting Show. Huge shout out to all three guys bringing the heat each and every week. And we'll be back next season. Come back and join us. Best of luck until then, guys. Enjoy the game Sunday night.